Hi, this is Mehdi,
Hey, this is Fran.
and this is Total Tactics Football. On the agenda today, we have Barcelona versus Napoli. In the first leg, Barca and Napoli drew 1-1, and Barca got the all-important away goal. So, friend, how do you see this tie, and how do you see them setting up?
Yeah, so I think if we look at Barcelona first, they've tried many different formations post-lockdown and tried to include Griezmann, I think, in a more offensive position where he fits more in the center. And that was a topic of debate. But ultimately, they posted some pretty poor results, regardless of, their big Villarreal win, where it seemed to many people that there was a revelation in terms of strategy. But they did try effectively a diamond formation that is a 4-1-2-1-2 or a 4-3-1-2. And effectively, the formation consists of having kind of four midfielders, Messi being at the top of the sort of diamond, and having Griezmann and Suarez up front. So I think this is something that they might try again, given the fact that Busquets is out and Frankie de Jong is there to kind of replace him. So I see Frankie playing that sort of defensive midfield position and Kike Setien continuing with Sergio Roberto as he did versus Villarreal, and alongside Puig, who has been fantastically in form. And the standard backline for Barcelona would just be Lenglet, Piqué, Alba, and Semedo.
Well, that's great. I mean, they're also missing Vidal, who Setien really likes to play, so that could, allow him to shuffle the midfield a little bit. Moving on to Napoli, Gattuso likes the 4-3-3. His formation. They seem to have a general mold of players that they try to change in right wing back. So center back pairing is always Koulibaly and Manolas. Right back on the flanks, we have Lorenzo and Hisage, and sometimes Rui. But I mean, considering Rui's discipline, um, he'll tend to play with Hisage because Messi can cause problems there. And the midfield will be a flat three of Zielinski, Lobotka, and Ruiz, who are all very good on the ball, who like to hold the ball, possession, turn it around, move the ball, and create chances for shooting. And the front line, I feel, is going to be the classic Mertens, Callejon, and Insigne. These are all players who are good on the ball. They like to create chances and take a lot of shots per game. So that is something they'll be looking at bringing to the new camp.
That's interesting. I think when we look at Barcelona and their strengths in this tie, obviously it's the fact that they can kind of play at home and play a comfortable kind of possession game and see the tie out. And if the opportunity strikes, they can score because Napoli will certainly be pushing for that goal. Um, And so, in that sense, I think Barcelona will enjoy the fact that they have a team pressing them because they struggle the most versus teams with a low block. You saw it in poor performances versus Osasuna and Espanyol in the post lockdown. They don't look good versus a team that sits back with many men behind the box. Whereas if Napoli is going to come at them, just like Villarreal did, they do have the opportunity for players like Messi, Suarez, and Griezmann to link up.
I think that it is true, and that is one of the biggest issues with Napoli. They are defensively not sound at midfield. That they have, they're all good on the ball. They're great with their passing range and holding, but it's when it comes to the defensive side of the game, they tend to lack the tackles and that determination and grit that we're so used to knowing that Gattuso used to do. So there's a bit interesting that he himself doesn't actually play with those kind of players. So, but the biggest strength that Napoli has is the amount of chances they create to score. We've seen that they always tend to get a goal here and there, and most of it comes from their left-hand side. They use Ruiz, who comes and covers for Lobotka, who moves with Zielinski and plays in triangles with Lorenzo. They tend to get very left-hand side heavy, and where Lorenzo and what do you call Callejon, where Lorenzo and Callejon tend to create width on the other side. So I do think that they're going to target playing either it's going to be Semedo or NPK. So they will be trying to look at that side of the pitch and maybe trying to pass their way through into either a shot scoring opportunity or uh, or if self work the way into the box.
Well, that's true, and that's something we have seen with Barcelona. They when Semedo pushes up high on the ball, then there is that space where a kind of pacey forward, which is both Mertens and Insigne, effectively, they're able to kind of score counterattacks just in the same way that Carrasco was able to cause problems, in that Atleti Barca match earlier on in the post lockdown. and that's going to be a problem for Barcelona. And I think the way you adjust to that really is by sticking to your midfielders and really asking your fullbacks to, or at least Semedo, to stay back.
I think, yeah, you're definitely right, and this will lead them to be quite disciplined if they are to stop that Napoli attack. But that also comes that same thing can be applied to Napoli. They lack the discipline, they lack the shape, defensive shape. I mean, if you're going to be only talking about defensive players, it's Koulibaly and Manolas, and they struggle with players who run at them and can dribble. And maybe Messi might actually just be a handful for them. We've seen with Lobotka and Zelinski that they give away a lot of free kicks, and Hisage and Rui. Those are opportunities that Gattuso will be telling his players that they need to work on, because if Messi gets those chances, we know he's really, really dangerous with them. So it is something that there's a weakness there. They're defensively not good, and maybe ball carriers, someone who was going to run at the defenders, at the players, are going to cause problems for Napoli.
Absolutely. I think one of the weaknesses for Barcelona coming into this tie is simply the fact that they don't look like a very good team when Busquets isn't playing.
Yeah,
And one of the issues, of course, is Frankie de Jong comes back from injury, and you never know what that necessarily means. You can come back to a game being slightly rusty, and not having played with an established sort of midfield quartet means that this formation isn't going to be, as chiseled as Napoli's 4-3-3, where they've been exercising and using the same midfielders again and again and again.
yeah.
And I think that's going to be a kind of question that Gattuso's players will ask Barcelona,
Okay.
and it'll be interesting to see how Frankie performs coming back from injury.
Wow. So what are your predictions? What do you think is going to happen for in this game?
Personally, I actually think we could see the same result happening, to be honest. I think a 1-1 does seem likely. When I've watched Barcelona lately, it just seems that their ability to create a goal is very poor. And I think, yes, they can score versus Napoli, but in this tie, it's sort of beneficial because Barcelona aren't a team that are used to staying back. We saw them concede those kind of famous advantages that they held in the last few years in the Champions League, because they aren't a team that is supposed to be set up to defend. They're
Yeah.
best playing when they're offensive, and unfortunately, they just don't create enough goals, even though they are in offensive positions, and that will give Napoli the space to continue. And I think in extra time, Napoli just might take it.
Are you gonna go for a Napoli win, the Napoli to proceed?
Yeah, yeah, I will.
Uh, for me, I personally think that maybe considering the defensive um, frailties that Napoli have, and the fact that you can bring on like a superstar talent in Ansu Fati, in a sense, off the bench might cause some problems. And I feel personally that Barcelona, like you mentioned, that defensively you're not sound, but Napoli also are a team that tends to be quite give away cheap fouls, and I personally think that whatever happens, there might be goals, but I see Barcelona um, going forward, just because I feel that this game kind of sets up perfectly for Messi, where he'll get chances either through defenders who tend to not tackle well, or players who don't lunge in much, and that allows for Messi to create options or get closer to goal. And we know you can't be giving him too many options or opportunities. So Barcelona for me.